Step into the heart of Australian agriculture with Salt of the Earth Farm Stories, hosted by Darren Grigg. Through personal, on-the-ground conversations, Darren shares the voices of farmers from all walks of life, from multi-generational family farms to trailblazers in sustainable agriculture.
There's always a gap there, feed gap. We needed to come up with something because we could run all this stock then, in the winter, spring, early summer, but then in autumn, there was a big gap there. So essentially we couldn't really grow grass quick enough while the stock were on the land, like while they were in the paddocks when the autumn break finally came.
Today we head to Mullameah at Mullanjandra, just near Holbrook, to catch up with Matt Martin, a forward-thinking, data-savvy farmer with deep connections to the land. Born into a multi-generational farming family, Matt's passion for sheep began at his family's renowned old Cobran Merino stud. After heading off to Ag College, he quickly learned that success in sheep farming can't come from focusing on just one trait. From meat and wool to welfare, growth, carcass quality and fertility, Matt looks at it all. We'll hear how he phased out of mulesing back in 2017, tackled wild dog pressure and transformed unproductive grazing areas into smart confinement yards that are now benefiting the whole farm. With fewer sheep, better breeding values and genomics on his side, Matt is proving that innovation and sustainability can go hand in hand, even when it comes to carbon. Stick around as we delve into the story of this clever, innovative young farmer doing awesome things in the Australian ag industry. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Darren.
Mate, thanks for having me here today. Can you tell me where are we and what's the name of this place?
Yeah, sure. So the property is actually called Mullameah and it's situated approximately halfway between Holbrook and Albury in southern New South Wales.
Right, and what sort of country would you call this?
Look, our country we've got, it does vary a lot. We've got, sort of creek flats up into undulating country, and then we've got some pretty fairly steep country as well. Yeah.
I'm looking at a magnificent view right now, mate. This must feel good to wake up to every day.
It is. It feels pretty special. We've got some great spots. It's incredibly pretty to look at. Yeah.
How many acres or hectares are you on?
So it's approximately 1,800 hectares all up. Yeah.
Perfect. And how long have you been here on this property for?
Yeah, so our family sort of bought it in 2015. Previous to that, we were sort of farming further west, about 350 k's west of here at a town called Deniliquin. We had all our family originated from sort of between Swan Hill and Deniliquin, and we're, previously farming all over there.
And they've been breeding the old Cobran Merino since around the 1950s?
Yeah, so our Old Cobram itself, the Merino stud, we believe it was one of the first pole studs registered, and that was in 1954.
In Australia?
Yes, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and our family sort of bought the Merino stud in 1993. Yeah.
Just outside of Denny?
Yes, just about 30 k's west of Deniliquin.
Have you still got land over there?
No, not anymore, no.
So can you tell me about the Bunok? Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Bunok bloodlines?
Bunnik. Yeah.
Bunnik?
So the stud, it was based originally off the Bunnik bloodline. Yeah. So that's where a lot of the sheep originally came from. Yeah.
And you've kept that going, that legacy?
Yeah, we have. The sheep probably will definitely have changed a lot since then. Like the whole industry has changed, I suppose. But I guess our breeding objectives and our philosophy has changed. Even our thought around the Merino has changed significantly.
Yeah.
Markets have changed. The public's perception has changed. Everything's changed. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so did you study ag, Matt?
I did. I went to Longanong Ag College. That was in 2005 and 2006. Yeah.
Love it?
Yeah, it was really good. Really, really good. Look, definitely learn a lot, but I've got friendships and friendship groups and networks that I utilize all the time, and you can't put a price on that, I don't think. Like, I can just chat to people about what's happening, what's going on, and just lifelong friends. Yeah.
And they're all over the country, I
They
guess.
are, yeah. Not all of them are in ag now, but most of them are, but in different industries or different sort of enterprises, I suppose, like stock feed to sheep, cattle, cropping. Yeah.
Did you have a focus area at uni?
Not particularly, no. Like I'd always had a a really strong interest from as long as I can remember. Was always in and around sheep or livestock as well, but particularly sheep. But while studying, no, there wasn't a real focus at that time, no.
Matt, can you tell me about the dual purpose genetics here?
Yep. So I guess as the world's changed and even the sheep have changed, the sheep have modernized, I would say. I guess our idea about breeding a merino is one that's much more balanced, and there has to be a good balance between fertility, muscle or carcass, and wool. I no longer think we can sort of really focus solely on one trait, and that traditionally was wool. So we do approach it with a balanced perspective, I suppose. Yeah.
And can you tell me about that selection criteria and how you use Merino Select and the genomic testing guide?
Yeah. So on all the stud animals that are bred on the property, data is collected from them throughout their life, and it can range from carcass traits to welfare traits. It can growth, fleece traits, fertility traits, and essentially all those points of data that's collected from those individual animals, along with pedigrees, is entered into a database, a system, and then that allows you to benchmark all those animals against all the other animals in this system.
So has each animal got a separate tag, a separate chip?
Yeah. So they're all EID tagged, and they end up with an individual number, essentially.
How often would you be scanning that tag?
Oh,
Like, do you look at their growing period and sort of go,
yeah, you do a lot. You scan them a lot to see, you might want to pull some animals out and see where they're at or how they're ranked, essentially. But also they're scanned, and then any new data's collected or entered on them. Yeah.
And you halted museling at some point. Can you tell me about that?
So traditionally all merino sheep were mulesed, even before 2017, but 2017 was the last time that we did mule any animals on the place. We were sort of working, probably 4 years previous to that, we were sort of working up to a point where we knew we wanted to stop. So we were sort of mulesing less, and we were then only mulesing the female portion or just tail stripping. And then in 2017, we completely stopped. Yeah.
And why?
There's probably a few different reasons. The strongest one was I just didn't enjoy doing it. And I felt the mulesing sort of thing almost controlled our sheep or our management of the stock. There might be times where we just mulese them. We can't do anything. We don't want to shift them. So I suppose my values would be the first reason.
Does it change the wool quality at all?
No, it definitely doesn't change the wool quality. I guess for long-term sustainability, I could see that I don't want to do this forever. We need to make some changes. I'd been and witnessed and seen other stock that were no longer mulesing, or farmers that weren't mulesing their sheep, and I could see that it was working for them. And the only way of not doing it was via genetics. Yeah, I guess we just decided that we no longer needed to do it. So let's try and start selecting animals that don't need it.
And has this improved fly strike resilience?
We definitely have less fly strike now, definitely. They just have less skin and the right type of skin, I suppose, too. Yeah.
And I guess from an animal welfare point of view, it's probably more marketable.
Yeah,
perhaps?
It definitely is. Yeah. There's definitely more market opportunities there. If when you sell your wool, you declare that the clip's from a non-mulesed flock or a cease mulesing flock, and it's just opened up different doors. We're now selling wool through elders, but directly to Uniqlo. They have direct, lines that they're putting together to produce garments that are from Australian non-mulesed wool. Yeah.
Actually, while we're talking about wool, you had some overseas visitors here last week. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So that was from through elders, a couple members of the elders team and Uniqlo, part of their sustainability team, came out. They're just putting together I suppose it's sort of a presentation to the rest of the team to sort of essentially grow the wool side of their garments, I guess. They're just trying to push, and they're very, very happy with it, and they just need to then now explain this further on to the rest of the team, I suppose, yeah.
And where were they from?
So there was a couple Uniqlo representatives from Japan, and then they had some of their supply chain managers that were actually from China. Yeah.
Right. How'd that go?
Yeah, good. That's actually the second time they've been here.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. The weather wasn't great, It was a terrible day, but no, it was good. It was really, really good.
I reckon
Fun.
they'd be impressed with what you're doing.
Yeah, they were. Look, it's very new to them. At the same time, very, very impressed. They're very excited.
And Matt, can you tell me about your emphasis on IMF or intramuscular fat?
Yeah. So I guess how it started out was really through Gundagai Lamb, and they have an open grid where it's non-breed discriminatory. They've set up a price scheme or an algorithm basically on animals that either yield better or score high for IMF, which then sort of aligns with eating quality. And Merinos, a lot of people know Merinos are actually very good for IMF. I just think as a Merino breeder, as a stud breeder, and as a commercial breeder, that's something that it's an opportunity for us. It's a great opportunity. So we're now selecting rams that are sort of trait leaders for IMF. Yeah, it's working really, really well. For our commercial lambs that we're selling to them, that are purebred Merinos, we're sort of doing really, really well. Historically, about 70% are getting a bonus. So,
Okay.
yeah.
How do you test for IMF or scan?
So it's all done. This is the thing. It's all done on a carcass. So essentially, you don't really get the feedback until it's one of these hard to measure traits. So you don't actually get the measurement back until the animal has been slaughtered.
Okay. And how has genomic selection for IMF influenced both ewe production and lamb meat quality?
Yeah. So we've been DNA testing the entire flock. I think this would be at least our 5th year. Using genomics, it's much like Merino Select. It's a tool that you can use. The genomic side of things, it improves accuracy within your breeding values. And it's really handy for those really hard to measure traits for IMF.
How are commercial and stud ewes managed differently?
So the stud and the commercial ewes, they are ran and managed very similar. The stud are ran under commercial conditions, always in separate mobs. The only different thing I would say with the stud side of things is the data collected on those animals. There is a lot of data points collected on them. But I wouldn't say we treat our studs any differently. They still need to be able to run in and under a commercial operation.
Yeah.
Yeah. They still have to go out and do everything that a normal sheep will do.
And Matt, I think since 2019, you've implemented a vegetation improvement program.
Yep.
Allocating, am I right, 400 hectares?
Yeah, I think it's actually a little bit over 400, but yep.
To native flora under the Biodiversity Conservation Trust. What prompted that, and how does it fit into your broader farm sustainability goals?
Yeah, so we have got about 1,500 acres, of which part of it that does have a covenant with the Biodiversity Conservation Trust of New South Wales.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. So there is significant flora and fauna in that portion of land. It was something that's very important to us, was and is very important to us. And we started talking to the BCT, and they came on farm and sort of had a look around and was relaying to us all these really important or threatened species that are in there. There's a real special part of it's got white box woodland in there, and then also the significance of this portion of land that links up to other covenant areas that then link up to the Womargon National Park. So I suppose there's a greater community or greater area that it's benefiting and linkage for the wildlife as well.
Such as squirrel gliders?
Yeah, yep. Like there's many, many different species, bats that aren't that common. Yeah, so many. Birds, hundreds. We've had bird surveys done on the place, and there's just hundreds of different species of birds, yeah.
And you mentioned white box. These wouldn't be attracting the region honey eaters at all, would they?
They could be, yeah. There's so many different honey eaters as well. Yeah. I get lost in so many, yeah.
So the biodiversity can fit into your operation here.
Yep.
We're going to have healthier plants.
Yep.
Like grazing plants.
Yep.
And therefore healthier animals.
Yes. Yep.
And I have learnt recently too that a lot of these bugs in your productive areas can be controlled by the bugs that come out of those treed areas, can't they?
For sure. Definitely. Yeah. So there are insects that consume other insects, and if that's all out of balance, then it then flows on into your pastures or whatever you're trying to produce.
But also windbreaks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's a very sheltered. It provides a lot of the the back end of the property with heaps of shelter. We can graze parts of the conservation area at certain times of the year. You know, we control those sort of winter invasive weeds, I suppose, that are just annual weeds. They can be controlled or grazed down with cattle at certain times of year for limited grazing. But then when, you know, the native species are growing, which is more spring, summer, the stock them removed and allow those species to grow and regenerate as well and set seed.
How do you go with feral animals here?
Yeah, so there's all different sorts. When we first came here, we were having big trouble with wild dogs, and we've actually put up a fair bit of electric fencing, and it's definitely worked.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work? Is that a couple of wires down low? Or?
Yeah, it is. It's just a series of wires that are quite low to the ground. The first thing they'll do is just sort of dig under or poke their head in, try and come under. And yeah, look, we found it works. It does require a little bit of maintenance, but if we didn't have it, we couldn't run sheep.
Wow.
No, yeah.
And I guess you've got deer,
Yeah,
foxes.
more and more deer coming, more pigs starting to come.
Really?
Yeah. And foxes, obviously, yeah.
Matt, in the last 10 years, since 2015, you've done an enormous amount of work here. We're just sitting on this pad here where you built the shearing shed.
Yep.
It's amazing. The earthworks alone must have been good, but I'm looking at your yards. They're state of the art.
Yep.
And it's been pretty hectic for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, we probably have invested heavily in infrastructure. I guess when we first came here, it was essentially a cattle property, and we've transitioned it all over into a sheep property. So that meant, you know, sort of changing fencing, laneways, sheep yards, shearing shed, hay shed, silos, and then a fair bit of containment pens as well, or confinement pens for livestock.
I'm busting to talk about that in a sec because that's pretty big what you've done out here. But just going back to the cattle, 2019, things changed a little bit for you from the beef side of things.
Yes.
Why is that?
Yeah, so it was particularly dry in 2019. And going forward, we already knew, and we'll start in the process of building confinement pens, but we knew that we needed to start to do something more, just to retain ground cover and protect the land, the soil, and the pastures. So we tended to move cattle on, reduce cow numbers, and allow us to maintain sheep numbers or breeding numbers. That was solely around the use of confinement pens. Yeah, that allowed us to maintain breeding numbers. Yeah.
So Matt, your containment yards are very impressive. Can you tell me what this looks like?
Yeah, thanks, Darren. Look, it's fairly simple to me. It's nothing fancy or flash.
I don't know about that, mate. I'm looking at your innovation you've got over there at the moment. It's very impressive. But
Thank you. It's fit for purpose, I suppose. Essentially, they're just a very small paddock. They're on some reasonably hilly, steep country that wasn't that productive beforehand. It just allows all the water to drain off. If you do get, a severe amount of rain while they're in there, they've all got a water trough. Most have a tree or some sort of shade sail set up. And essentially we just feed in PVC pipe it's about 30 centimeters in diameter. Those pipes have been cut in half and some wires in the fence have been removed, and the animals, sheep in our case, put their head through the fence and feed out of the PVC pipe that's been cut in half and turned upside down. It just allows you to feed very quickly and efficiently. You can feed a lot of sheep quite quickly in a very small area, and you're not having to go into a pen or a paddock or anything like this. All the sheep can be eating grain, whatever you're feeding. In our case, it's grain, and they're not standing on it. They're not fighting through animals or going through gates and all that jazz. Yeah.
Yeah, so this PVC pipe, that's on the opposite side of the fence to where the sheep are.
Correct, yeah.
And you can just come along, no gates,
yes,
with your ute and your feeder.
Yep.
Put your auger into the pipe.
Into the trough, yep.
And away you go.
Yeah, yeah.
There was another system I've just seen the other day where you've got a smaller pipe and perhaps a little auger within that pipe. And I saw a solar panel. I don't know how that works exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, there goes the feeder bin now.
Yeah, here it clunging away, yep. So I think this was about 4 or 5 months ago, we put in 2 Shepherd auto feeders. Essentially, there's a bin at one end, and then there is a small centerless auger that runs through a PVC pipe that fills a grain trough. And at the other end, it's all solar power ran, and there's a little motor, and it's got quite a sophisticated software program in it. Essentially, we've been using it as a purpose-built induction pen. So it allows you to feed small amounts of grain, but quite often, and get them onto the grain a lot quicker. Yeah, so that's probably really used as induction for lambs. Yeah, but
So you're
amazing.
calculate the lamb weight, the amount of lambs, and then that's on a timer.
Yes, yeah. So essentially, it's been calibrated that if the motor runs for however many seconds, minutes, that's how much grain's going to come out in a minute, essentially.
Yeah.
And then you just put into it how many animals you've got in the pen, whether you want them to start on day one, or if you want to speed it up if they've already had grain previously. But there is a default setting in there, an induction setting that you can pop them in there and you just basically walk away. Yeah.
Could be quite quick to go and fill that hopper with grain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're done.
15 minutes. Yeah. And that holds about a ton, the hopper.
So just going back, these containment yards are probably 3 to 4 acres or a couple of hectares.
Like even less. You know, I'd say an acre maybe at most. I mean, because we're feeding outside the pen, we need to allow at least 30 centimeters of trough space per animal. So that will essentially depict the size of your pen really on how many sheep you want to put in there.
So this will allow them all to get a feed at the same time.
Correct.
And the bullies don't take over.
That's it. Yeah. Because essentially when they're in there, a lot of the time most of the time, I won't say always, but most of the time they're on a sort of a maintenance diet. So they come in, get their allocated amount of feed, and then that's sort of it, essentially. So they really need to be able to feed at the one point.
And I think since I was here last, you've got their water troughs as a different setup now. You've got the water inside a bigger pipe. They just stick their mouth through.
Yeah. So we've sort of made, I can't take the credit. The team.
They're not here, mate. They don't take credit. You're right.
We've made another form of PVC pipe with a float valve in one end, and there's a cap with a screw on the other end of the PVC pipe. So essentially they're drinking out of a PVC pipe that is fed by a reticulated watering system. And this PVC pipe has small holes in the top, and they drink out of there. And we've just found them to keep the water a lot cooler, a lot cleaner, rather than having sort of an old big concrete traditional trough. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Now, why do we want to put them in a smaller paddock?
So
a smaller pen, I should say.
It was triggered by the drought, but even before then, we always had this challenge of like boom and bust. I felt like, we had amazing winters, or, had good green feed in winter and spring and early summer. But then late summer, autumn, there's always a gap there, feed gap. We needed to come up with something because we could run all this stock then, in the winter, spring, early summer. But then in the early autumn or autumn, there was a big gap there. So essentially we couldn't really grow grass quick enough while the stock were on the land, like while they were in the paddocks when the autumn break finally came. So we found that we needed to get them off the paddocks, and the idea was I went and looked somewhere else. Someone was doing something very similar, and they built these confinement pens, and they were feeding them in there and letting the land or the feed start to grow, so that when the sheep went out, there was a good bridge of feed in front of them.
So yeah, when the time is right for that plant to start growing again, there's already, it can photosynthesize quicker, I suppose, and grow faster.
That's it.
But also for the animal, they would be using less energy to get to their feed?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So you can do what we're doing in the paddock. You can feed out in the paddock, but all their feed is in one spot. They're not sort of walking around all over the country trying to look for feed. It's not degrading your land. It's not. You can actually feed less wastage, and the animal actually will require less too,
So if they're burning less energy, putting more weight on?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Love it. So this means you can control their nutrients better?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, while they're in confinement, I know when what pregnancy status are, whether they're a twin or a single, whether they're empty, whether they're dry. I always have my hand, on the trigger. I know what's sort of happening at the time. I can do a really, really quick feed budget, and I can work out what their requirements are. I can then assess what feed, and when I say feed on hand, I'm talking like either grain or hay or straw, whatever you're doing, silage. I can do a really, really quick assessment of what we've got, and then create essentially a feed plan or a feed budget for those particular animals in confinement, and it allows you to monitor and manage those animals to the absolute optimum, I would say. Yeah.
So you've got about 500 stud ewes?
Probably a little bit less now. Since I would say since using breeding values and doing genomics, we've been really been able to highlight those animals that are working and doing really, really well for us. And those are ones that aren't. They've just simply been culled, removed.
And then how many commercial merinos?
So we're now at 4,500 commercial merino ewes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's actually back quite a bit from maybe 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, just seasonal dry years. Yeah, we did sell a few off.
So at this time of the year, in winter,
Yeah.
how many of them would be in containment areas?
There's very few now. Very
Right.
few. Most of them are out. We're sort of just at the back end of lambing. We're nearly probably 1 week to go and lambing's all done. So
Yeah.
I've never lambed in confinement. I don't think I would want to do it. It has been tight this year out in the paddock.
Why wouldn't you lamb in containment areas?
I reckon mismothering would be a big concern. Yeah, just because of the stocking rate, the amount of animals in the actual pens. The sheep, they really, really love their privacy. When it comes lambing time, we really try to avoid doing anything with them. Yeah, they really need that privacy, staying at the birth site, doing what they do best and being a mother.
Is it a hectic time of the year for you, lambing?
It's been busier this year, just with the ewes have all been set up out in the paddock with lick feeders.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to sort of keep them topped up. There's just not quite enough in the paddocks. But this year is hectic, but usually it's not massively hectic, no.
So Matt, do you focus on a carbon number?
Look, not really. I'll be dead honest, we don't really track carbon. Like we do soil tests and we can measure what carbon is there. I mean, it happens organically or naturally, I suppose, anyway. Like that whole carbon cycle, it's part of our system. Like we want carbon in the soil without a doubt, I will be dead honest, we don't track it.
Perhaps one day.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah, and I think at the moment you're doing as much as you can to help that anyway and offset it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we try and
without
put much.
focusing on your number, go and do all the other good things. So,
Yeah.
How do fluctuating wool markets influence your breeding and production priorities year to year?
I'd say very little, if to none, to be honest. Yeah. We have a direction that we want to head in with our genetics and our business. Whether wool prices are up or down, we tend not to sort of let that cloud our vision, I suppose, or our judgment. Yeah.
Good.
Like I said, the animal has to be balanced anyway. We'd never put all our eggs in one basket. We tend to just sell after we shear, to be honest. Yeah, with that little bit of non-mules and the Uniqlo premiums, we're more than happy. Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Probably takes a bit of stress out of it too.
It does.
When it's going to happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Matt, you keep your finger on the pulse and participate in some quite big events like LambX, Henty Machinery Field Days, and your on-property ram sales and field days and so forth.
Yeah.
You're on top of it all, aren't you? You love the innovation side of things and
yeah, I do.
knowing what's new.
I hate being idle, I suppose.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, so this year, it's an old stud. It's been around for a long time, but since I've sort of stepped into the stud business, there's been a lot of changes with the help of everyone else. I never want to take the gold star, but I mean, those changes have sort of been pushed by me, and I love where the sheep are going. So this will be our first year. Actually, we're heading to the Australian Sheep and Wool Show at Bendigo, and I'm sort of keen to show people the new old Cobran. I say it's a different sheep. It's much more modern. It's much more balanced, but I love it, and I love where it's going. So yeah.
And you'll be presenting there?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll have a display, some sheep on display. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll be there.
How important are these gatherings for maintaining relationships and industry alignment?
Yeah, so they are very, very important. I mean, studs can produce stud sheep, but I think it's really important to keep it commercial as well. And everyone does it. We all talk to our commercial producers. The networking side of things and just talking to people, like when things are challenging, I think the best thing you can do is talk to someone anyway. And the minute that you hear someone else having the same challenge, you almost feel a little bit better, I reckon. It's really important. Yeah.
You've emphasised pasture renovation with perennial species and rotational grazing. How does that system help you manage extreme climate variability in the riverina?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess like a lot of people talk about climate change, climate variability. There's just a lot more variation, I would say.
Yeah.
And those variabilities are intensified, whether it's hotter, drier, wetter at certain times of the year. So our first thing is we'll go in, spray it out, and then rip the country. It is quite compacted and hard. Do a little bit of rock removal. We have plenty of rocks. This is like Rock City here. And then getting in perennial species. The main reason behind that is, I mean, you can take advantage of when that rain is falling any time of the year. It doesn't matter whether it's summer, winter, spring, autumn. That would be my main tool, because historically it was very wet in the winter here, and it still can be, but I mean, we're now getting times when it's wetter in the summer, wetter in the late spring, not maybe getting that autumn break that we always love. That would be definitely the first tool that we try and use. Yeah.
Rotational grazing is important here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I guess from what I've come from, it's much more intensive rather than, say, an extensive grazing program. Where I was before at Denny, it was quite a reasonably large place. The animals spread out a lot. You didn't have near the stocking rate, whereas here you've got a lot of animals on a reasonably small area, and if you can't lock country up or grow grass, then you're sort of almost going nowhere. The set stocking thing, it doesn't work. Definitely doesn't work here. It's questionable where it works anywhere.
Yeah, and that depends on your numbers too, I guess.
Definitely, yeah.
It must feel better too, though, to see a paddock rest a little bit, get the right climate, the right weather, and up she goes.
Look, the grass needs it, whatever species you're growing, it definitely needs it. And it's far better for the stock. If you can move them around and put them on fresh paddocks, it's way better. And you can just see they're so much happier.
Any future breeding or business goals for your place here?
Yeah, for here. Breeding goals for old Cobran, the stud, would be always heading in with an open mind. I mean, things change and there's nothing wrong with that. So, I mean, our direction can change, but I'm fairly cemented on where we're heading at the moment. We're really pushing the carcass, really pushing that. There's great opportunity in the lamb industry that we could take advantage of, especially being a Merino. From the business, just keep moving forward, I guess. Yeah, growing.
So you're here with your partner?
Yes.
And your father?
Yes. So essentially it's a family business. There's me, mum and dad. Mum and dad actually live off farm. They've got another smaller farm south of Wodonga. But look, dad's here every day anyway. Yeah. He's off farm but on farm. And then me and my partner, we sort of work. He works in town as well, but we do sort of work in the business as well. We've got our own little projects happening, and
great.
Yeah. So it's still it's 100% a family business. Yeah.
And a couple of staff on too.
We've got one full-time staff member as well.
Is there a special little place on this property that you go to for your little time out?
Yeah, look, we've got plenty of spots up the back. There's a little spot up on the hill. You can see a long way, and it is very special. But even sitting here, looking to the west, you can look a long way, and it is a magic place to live, I reckon.
Absolutely stunning. Is there a memorable piece of feedback from a client that sticks with you? I was reading one you had about Dave Cooper.
Yeah, Dave Cooper. I've got quite a few, I reckon, but yeah, Dave Cooper has been buying rams for quite some time now, and does the same thing, finishes all these lambs, sends all these purebred Merinos to Gundagai. Same again, has some great results there. He runs an amazing operation. He's a very, very good stockman, good manager, selects amazing rams. Everything he turns off, it has a good grain, cropping program as well. Everything he does, amazing. And he is very, very, he's just a great person, complimentary. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, we're up to the fun part.
Okay.
This is the off-the-wall questions.
Yep.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
What's your favourite tool or piece of machinery?
Oh, dear. Everyone can sort of back me up here, and then I'm not machinery minded at all. Like hate tractors.
Really?
Yeah, love stock.
You're quite innovative.
Yeah. I use my TrueTest XR5000 all the time. I've got so much saved on it and then on my computer. It's a great little tool that I use in the stud. Essentially, it's like a mini computer, I suppose. It stores a lot of information.
That collects the data from each animal, is it?
It sort of stores the data. Yeah. So
Right.
essentially I scan the animal with a stick reader, and this little indicator will bring up all sorts of information that I've recorded from that animal previously. I just love being able to look them up and see who's who and what they're doing and how they're performing.
I should have known that you'd pick something really clever like that. It's not just a pair of pliers or a shovel.
I know. The second thing, there's probably two. That is just our feed cart. Like, we use it so much. It's in the feedlot, confinement feeding, whatever. Yeah, we'd be lost without it, especially this year.
Is there one practice that has been a real game changer?
Farming here, two things: pasture renovation and improvement. That's been a big game changer, because a lot of it was beforehand was native silvergrass. Once we started making the change, we're like, whoa, this can actually grow grass. We just need to get the right stuff there. Confinement feeding without sort of getting a little bit banging on about it. That's probably been the biggest one. Yeah.
And Matt, if your sheep could talk, what do you think they'd say about the way you run things on the farm here?
I think they'd be always full.
Not thinking something like that. Best restaurant in town.
Yeah, I hope so. No, I think they'd be a pretty happy bunch. I hope so, because I spent a fair bit of time looking after the buggers.
You too. What's the most unexpected thing you've ever found here on the farm?
Unexpected thing, I would say just the way the water can move through the property. It sounds really weird, but the way it can move through, because we've got a lot of creeks and gullies and we've got a lot of steep country. So the way the water moves through the place is just incredible.
Matt, if you could give your farm a theme song, what would it be?
I reckon Luke Combs, When It Rains It Pours, because it does. When it rains, she really pours. That's what I love about it, I reckon. Yeah. And I love the song. I've got, great fond memories of things we've been to where that song plays, and it reminds me of some pretty special things.
Well, I think we might have been at the same Luke Combs concert earlier in the year.
I reckon we were. Yeah, Melbourne. Yeah.
Amongst just a few other people.
Yeah. Such a good vibe. So good.
If you could time travel 100 years into the future, what do you think farming will look like then? And do you think wool sheep will be still part of it?
Yeah, I think Merinos will still be around, definitely. Yeah. Oh, damn, hope so.
For wool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I do.
I hope so.
It's a great product. Farming in itself could be a little bit different. No doubt about that.
Do you have a quirky habit or a tradition while working on here on the farm?
Look, we have a great team, and I'm not just talking about shearers, the whole team. Have a great network around me. At the end of the day, I love going back to my computer for like 10 minutes and just like going over things and seeing, I love ticking off things I've done and making sure everything that I wanted to achieve got done. Yeah. Sounds weird, but it's fulfilling.
Now, Matt, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
It'd be here. It's such a good spot. On a good day, when the weather's good like today, it's such a pretty spot, I reckon.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Matt, I've loved this chat.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for having me, mate. And I've learnt stacks about you here at this magnificent property.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's it for today's episode with Matt Martin from Mullameah. A great example of how tradition and innovation can go hand in hand on the land. From phasing out museling to using data and genomics to improve animal welfare and productivity, Matt's approach is smart, sustainable, and future-focused. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, share, or leave a review. And in the meantime, keep your hands dirty and your spirits high.
Salt of the Earth Farm Stories is proudly brought to you by Grig Media.